Hey everybody. So I want to tell a little story. When I was a child, 7 years old, lived in Utah, uh, north by about 60 miles of a town named Moab. I lived out in the middle of nowhere. Nearest neighbor was a couple miles down the road. It was during this period of time that I was the happiest in my life. It was during this period of time in which my imagination and my physical boundaries were almost limitless. Well, my imaginative boundaries were limitless. I was allowed to explore from miles away from home. As long as I had my dog with me, my dog being able to hear my mom's voice when I was out of range, I was allowed to go wherever I wanted. And this was great for my imagination as well. I'd never had to fear any wildlife or anything. I didn't know that at the time. There were many times I encountered wildlife like mountain lions, wolves, things like that, and they never acted aggressive toward me. I encountered a rattlesnake. I can't say the same about insect or arachnids or anything like that. I did have some problems with them, but reptiles, mammals, no. My father had taught me the dangers of the outdoors, and with my dog beside me, I was pretty safe. There were times I was up to maybe 5-6 miles away from home at any given time. And that really was a wonderful, amazing time in my life. Places I got to explore. See, it used to be a native tribe used to live on that land. I used to find arrowheads, um, tools, stone tools, petrified wood, dinosaur bones. Even once found a complete skeleton of a horse and rider that my father back then said he believed was from the 1800s. There were caves galore. I didn't really go into caves, so that was one thing I was forbidden to do, which is fine with me because, frankly, I was scared of the dark, and I was scared of close, confined spaces in the dark to boot. So I had no problem with obeying that order. It was also the first time in my life I could also ever recall being watched by non-physical eyes. It wasn't in a bad way, and I learned later on as an adult that I picked up a Native American guide, spirit guide, a friend from a past incarnation. My point of this video is that because of that experience in my life, later on when I was not happy in life, when I was in my teens, I wanted to take my own life. I wanted to die. Or I wanted to be one of those kids that did. This is before school shootings, mind you, and I'm not trying to promote it. That's just what I was going through at the time. So, trigger warning, I guess. Yeah, I used to fantasize about taking a gun to school and shooting up all my bullies because they tormented me day in and day out. My teachers, too. Fortunately, I never had access to a gun. But back to the point. I think that had I not been allowed to let my imagination grow like it did, I wouldn't have gotten through those tough times, because it was my imagination that essentially got me through those tough times. That was my escape. That was my refuge. Books or just daydreaming, whatever, things I got in trouble for in school, what really ended up being a huge blessing in life. So I encourage you, if you have children, to do whatever you can to promote and help that imagination grow, and to let them do things to build that trust. Let them explore. I know this is a dangerous world that we live in, but there are ways you can make it happen. You never know. It may be what saves your kid's life one day. Or, even better, it may be what allows your kid to become successful one day. I was reading a study once that talked about wealth disbursement, and how the money that was distributed to the 1% was actually distributed to those who were creators and distributors. So like your Elon Musks. So you can be one or the other, you can be both. But if you're both, you're likely to be hugely successful. Moderately successful if you're one or the other. But imagination is still key. In a society that is overrun with commercialization, or what's the word I'm trying to think of for that? Unmoderated capitalism. Children's imaginations are stifled. It's all become about money, power. If your kids are really young, it's never too early to start them on reading. I remember before I was of the age to enter school, my mother was teaching me how to read stop signs when we drive down the road, or just getting me started on reading. And so when I entered school, by my first grade year, I was reading books. That's a huge advantage to have, too, for any child entering school. Math, get them started on numbers, too. I'm not saying this as a parent. I've never been a parent. I'm just saying this as a child who's been there. Anyway, y'all, I love you. Have a wonderful day.